Hey everyone, uh, welcome Arvind. We're here for another Premier League game week recap on SEW. This is game week 25. We're getting to see some convergence in the title race, if you can call it that. Arsenal are just barely keeping it alive. I have some thoughts about it, so maybe we can just jump right into it. There was some
Yeah, for sure.
And the first one I'd like to talk about is Leicester versus Arsenal. Arsenal won 2-0. They barely just did it. If I think that first half was excruciating to watch, even as an Arsenal fan. And I get it because we have Kai Havertz out for the rest of the season. Saka has been out since December. Martinelli is out. So we had to start with a front three of Trossard at centre forward, uh, Sterling at left wing, and Nwaneri at the right. Odegaard and Rice and Partey in midfield. The defense was pretty solid. I think we have most of our first choice back. So yeah, it was a really, really tough watch. But we managed to get a win. Arteta made some great substitutions, I think. There was also a tactical change with Odegaard kind of dropping deeper in the second half and started to get on the ball more and dictate play. Uh, and we got two goals. Um, there were some rumors that Mikel Merino is going to be like our auxiliary center forward. He has the right profile for it. He's like a tall guy. He's really good at winning his aerial duels. Maybe not the most natural finisher, but neither is Kai Havertz. So I think it's a good substitution. Uh, yeah, Trossard, as soon as he moved to the left, he started making things happen. I don't know if you watched the game, but it was enough to keep the pressure on Liverpool where they kind of feel it, but they should still feel comfortable that they are 7 points ahead. It just makes things interesting. Like, I don't like it when one team runs away with it, and we're not doing anything about it. So, in that sense, it was a good result. Arsenal have like a couple of one more quote unquote easy fixture. We face West Ham at home, and West Ham have not been great. But after that, it's Nottingham Forest away. So if I think this is going to be like the make or break week for Liverpool as well. It's more make than break, but yeah. One special shout out that I want to give out to is Ethan Nwaneri. This kid, my God, he is incredible. Like he is carrying the burden of the attack. He feels the responsibility that some of the other senior pros on the team don't feel it, and that's kind of astounding. Uh, you have to be very lucky when your academy produces good talents that can make the cut to the first team, right? There are so many people you hear about at the academy stage, but then seeing them boss it in the Premier League, it's just great to watch. And Arsenal have been really fortunate in this regard. Like we've had Saka come through, Smith Rowe. Maybe he was not great for the first team, but he's doing well at Fulham. And having a career in the Premier League, it's like you have to be the best of the best.
Yeah, I feel for Smithrow, the thing is his injuries came at really wrong points of time because when we saw Smithrow picking up some momentum, suddenly he got injured or he picked up some knocks, which pushed him further down the pecking order. So yeah, it's good to see Smithrow doing well at Fulham because the quality was always there. It was always a question of whether or not he'll keep fit.
Yep. Yeah. And if you look at the goal that he scored, it was identical to the goal that Merino scored. So I'm
Yeah.
like, it's the same kind of profile. Should we have let
Yes.
him go? But if in the bargain of letting Smith Rowe go, we are getting to see Ethan and Vaneri shine, which is what Arteta alluded to. Like, even that was part of the reasoning why he even let Fabio Vieira go back to Porto on loan. It was incredible. So I think it was a good call at the end. You suffer for a little bit, but then you enable your best players to become even better. Yeah. Miles Lewis Kelly, also a good shout out to him. There was this one intervention that he had. Ayu put in a low ball across the face of the goal. If NDD had gotten to it, it would have been a goal. And I don't think Arsenal would have gotten any points from this game. He made a last minute intervention to keep the ball away from Ndidi, and it was very, very crucial. So overall, good intervention. I think it was you're barely again keeping the title race alive. That's all I can ask for. Um for me, I think after Saka got injured, I gave up hopes of the title. It's a miracle that Arteta and Arsenal are still keeping us in the conversation. I think it's something to be commended because if your best players are out with all the injuries and luck that we've had to be in this position, I still think it's a good achievement. Uh, I think for me, like ending the season top two in second place would be good considering all the context of this season. It's unfortunate we thought that with City dropping off that this might be our year, but injuries and Salah had other plans. So yeah, I think this is going to be an interesting week for Liverpool. So getting a little meta about it, Liverpool play
Hmm.
Villa away, I think City away, and then Newcastle at home.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
Liverpool are dropping points anytime in the season, it's this run of three fixtures, I think. So let's move on to the Liverpool game
yep.
against Wolves, and let's get your thoughts on that and the new games, next games that you have.
Yeah, so the game against Wolves, I'll say, was a game of exactly two halves. Proper contrast between our performance in the first half and that in the second half. So looking at our performance in the first half, I thought we'll be coasting to a 4-0 or a say a 3-0 win minimum. But then when you the thing with these teams like Wolves is if you give them an opportunity and keep them in the game for say till the 60th minute or the 65th minute, they start growing in confidence. And as we always know, 2-0 is the most dangerous scoreline in football. It was proved yet again after Cunha took his goal really well. Absolutely sent our defense back to the cop, and yep, uh, it's set up for a very very nervy ending. But then thankfully the substitutes who came on, that is Jarel Kwanzaa and Wataru Endo, they did a very good job to see out the game. And yeah, these are the kind of dirty wins which make champions. I also remember in the season when we won the Premier League, the sheer number of games that we won 2-1, we never looked that convincing in a lot of those games. Like for example, if you take the game against Aston Villa, which we played away from home in 2019, we were trailing in the 87th minute, and from there we went on to win the game after two quick fire goals from Robertson and Mane sealed those 3 points. So that basically puts pressure on the team that's chasing you. In that case, it was Man City because potentially, if we had dropped points that game, we would have seen the gap reduced to, I guess, 6 points. But then we kept the gap to 9 points, and then the next weekend when we played City, we got the points gap up to 12 points. So that itself inflicts a psychological blow to the chasers. And given the fact that Arsenal secured a very good win against Leicester, I'd say that it's just like Wolves, like when you are playing away from home against a team like Leicester, and when the scores are tied in the 80th minute 0-0, or say even when you're approaching the 90 and it's still 0-0, the home team, despite being weaker than say the away team on paper, they start growing in confidence and they have this belief that okay, if we get a set piece or if we get a counter, we can go and attack the the team that's stronger than us. So credit to Arsenal for, I mean, showing that defensive resilience and killing off the game when the opportunities arose. And yeah, with Liverpool, yes, this is a kind of a wake up call to say that, okay, we still have the 7 point gap, but we have to be very careful and very attentive to the situation because the next three games that are coming up are very, very tricky games against Villa, Newcastle, and Manchester City. I mean, I'm not mentioning this in order, but then, yeah, it's like it sets up for a very good beginning to the title run, wherein we can see the best of both the team that is leading the pack and the team that's also chasing the leaders. So yeah,
Yeah,
that was
I
my
think
take.
one thing that I keep saying is that no team in the league is perfect at this point. You had these situations where Man City would come in with this aura of, hey, nobody can touch us. We're going to get the win. So teams would kind of treat the game as a free hit. But I feel like that kind of goes into like a spiral, right? You're like, you might as well give up. But I feel like Liverpool, despite the amazing attack that Liverpool have, defensively they can be got at. And we've seen it like multiple times. Like, you know,
Yeah,
it
I
just
agree.
takes it just takes a moment. So, and I feel like last time against City, Villa rested key players, and they were like, "Oh, this is not a priority for us," and that kind of ended up, City steamrolled Villa and Arsenal. That kept affecting Arsenal. This time around, I feel like Villa have enough skin in the game. It's early enough where they can still hope for a top five position, where they're
Mm.
not going to take it easy. And as you can see, they were trailing at the Emirates 2-0, but they got 2-2, right? They got two goals.
Yeah,
So because Arsenal just switched off again, the 2-0 is the most dangerous scoreline. That proves true.
absolutely, absolutely.
So I feel like they have a chance. And again, Villa have a pretty strong record at home. I think they've lost one, maybe two games at home all season. So there's everything in it for them. So which is why I feel like this next game against Villa for Liverpool is very crucial. Imagine Liverpool drop points and then
Mm.
Arsenal play West Ham, they get like 2 points. Suddenly, like the you know gap is like 5 points or 4 points, and then you go away to Etihad, to
City, yeah.
City at Etihad. That's going to be a really really tough game, and I think City they're still inconsistent, but they're still kind of getting into the game. Oh, and we
Yeah.
have a new guest with us, so let's welcome uh Aja. Like it's a very right time where we just mentioned City, and I think that's the next game we should cover, which is City frankly destroying Newcastle. So let's get a good quick recap of the game.
Cool. I think at least I showed up. My team didn't. To be
And
honest,
it's
Rohit,
much appreciated.
yeah, and to be honest, Rohit, I think that was the summary, right? It just seemed like we we start really good in games like what we did even against Arsenal or Liverpool. And when we go into these big games, the first few minutes almost dictates how well we typically do. And in those first few minutes, City were able to play around us. That set the tone for the rest of the games. And what, frankly, one thing that really surprised me is how direct and dynamic City were. Right, unlike some of the other games that I've seen them play. And I think Rohit, we've also talked about how Arsenal and some of the other teams, big teams that we are playing against, they are overcoached, they kind of play to a rhythm, play to a pattern. So it's almost easy to crack, right? And when we played City that day, it was all over the pitch. When we thought they were going to go short, they went long. When we thought they were going to go long, we kind of played second tempo in terms of pressing. They kind of did fast build-ups. So it really caught us by surprise. And to be honest, by the time we actually woke up to that fact in the 60th minute, they're already 4-0 up. That's credit to Pep and how well the team played. And I think playing a double pivot, which they never do against us, so we dominated even in the game that we played at home. I think me and my wife, we watched it from the stadium. We were very comfortable when they played a single pivot. That they played a double pivot with Gundogan and Nico Gonzalez. It really killed us. So they were able to play through us.
And I think Edison is now the record assister as a goalkeeper in the Premier League. He's had six. He took over Paul Robinson's record of five.
Correct.
Sometimes it's just simple, right? You just get the ball over the top to the big guy and somehow he scored. Not exactly a big guy. Marmoush got it, but
But,
he
but
was.
it was Haaland's run that actually did us because he went
That's true.
infield, and then Marmush did the overlap, which
Yeah,
is it's and he's having Marmush against Trippier is a mismatch to start with,
yeah.
and that he actually exploited it really well goes to show how well their recruitment has been over the summer or the winter break rather.
Yeah, well, it's good when you have like, 200 million to throw on players, right? It must be nice to be that team. But I think Marmoush, him and Foden and I think Savinho, they had some really good like positional rotation. Uh, he was, kind of playing like I saw some of the goals that he scored, two of them at least, he was in that 10 position rather than on the left that he notionally starts at some of these games. So that rotation really helped.
which
So
is
he was
actually
at the
possible only if you have a fullback like Gabriel who can go both.
right.
What do you call it, in the half space, right? Left half space, and someone who can do the overlap. So
Yeah. Guardiola is a
you,
cheat code. He
he
is
is,
just so good. Like
and he's so
is
physical too, right? You
yeah.
get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like Zinchenko, imagine Zinchenko with the physical attributes and the defensive attributes that Guardiola has.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
round package.
Yeah, it's a reason why even Arteta's moved away from Zinchenko. He's probably our fifth choice left back now. Somehow we
Mm.
have seven of them, and six of them were injured for most of the season. But yeah, it was overall, I think,
They played
really
well.
good. Yeah, the City played well. They really did. I think they're, oh, who knows? Maybe they're kicking back into form at the right time to stop Liverpool's advance. It just makes the race a little bit more interesting.
It. I don't think they're anywhere close to being second, but I want to say what it does is it puts them in a great position for the next year,
It
right?
really
Just
does.
when you think, like, especially for you both, right? In terms of, oh, yeah, you know what? We have one good season. Now let's capitalize. In your case, Rohit, it's just a question of getting a striker and probably a central midfielder who's really sturdy, right? Who can be a proper box to box. And in the case of Aramin, just making sure that you get the maximum money out of all of these people that you've given long ropes to, and then refresh the team. Okay, now we have a proper engine, and then this guy spends, like you said, Rohit, 200 million in the winter and all of these buys. Kusanov is somebody that we have tracked since year before last, right? I put out a tweet 2023 on this guy saying, "Oh,
Yep.
this guy, we absolutely have to get him." And now this guy lands at City. The first game is a joke, right? Because he kind of found himself out of that. And this game was so good. He was
Yeah.
so good against Isak, right? Which is not something that you tell about too many central defenders.
Yeah. I think more often than not, City get their recruitment right. It's a rare miss that they have. Like Calvin Phillips, he was a miss. Uh, Jack Grealish, I still think he was a miss because you look at he's been good, but if you look at the amount you paid for him, still a miss in my opinion. But the good thing about, well, fortunately for City, they can somehow crank out. They can sell Cole Palmer for 50 million or whatever, and they can renew and refresh their squad. I think, without getting a little bit too meta about it, I think the Arsenal overall have like a pretty good squad set for the future with like Miles and Nwaneri in the squad. It frees up money for other positions like striker. We can go big, get another wide forward or something, and there's always already rumors of Zubimendi, which is great replacement for like Partey and Jorginho. So
Hmm.
Arsenal are going to have an easier job in the summer than Liverpool do. There's a lot more work that Liverpool need to do. But maybe before we go into all of that, I think I want to also cover the big mid-off that we saw between 14th place Spurs and 15th place Manchester United. We still have to cover them because they are like quote unquote big six. Um, Amorim said before the game, right? He was like, "Oh, like the pressure at Manchester United is different from Spurs," and I completely agree with that because no matter what their performances over the last 10 years or so, Manchester United is still a big, big club. You look at the Deloitte Money League; they're still up there despite all their challenges on the pitch. So I kind of get what he's saying, but overall, this game was not very impressive. I was expecting a high scoring game, which, where you can laugh at the defensive lapses of both teams, but it was kind of not that high scoring either because I don't know, something about this game, I was bored while watching it, which I didn't expect. Any
Hmm.
thoughts on this?
Aravind, you want to go first? I only watched
Yeah,
the highlights of it, the 20, 30
yeah.
minutes.
So, like, while watching the game, I always felt that Spurs were waiting for United to put in that equalizer. But then, uh, even after the Spurs goal, I felt that Garnacho had a brilliant chance to level the game, but he just blasted it to Rosie. And then Zirkzee had a really good game. Hoyland was poor. And the issue with United and Spurs was that moreover with Spurs, like even after they scored the goal, they had lapses while making decisions in the final third. In instances where they could have just countered United and finished the game off, they didn't take it. Son looked a bit leggy towards the second half. Then Odobert came on, but Odobert came on when he like pretty late towards the end of the game. I felt if Odobert would have come a bit earlier, like say in the middle of the second half, then I feel that Spurs could have made things much easier for themselves because he was one striker who was looking very lively. And shout out to Tell, he did everything right except the finishing. Some of those efforts were really tame, and like I feel this will get better once he plays more and more because of late he's just been on the bench and uh, warming the seats at Bayern. But right now, when he's going to get a run of games for Spurs, I feel he's going to do a good job. But then, United really have to fix up. There is no connection between the midfield and the attack, and there's no solidity at the back. It's just a disjointed system, and I feel for Amorim, and I also fear that if Amorim isn't able to get a few wins uh, from now till the end of the season, his job could be at a risk. And again, with United, it's always been a vicious cycle since Fergie has left. So this could be yet another vicious cycle where they hire a coach, then they fire a coach, then they get another one, and because of off-field drama and antics, like it could keep
So
happening to
I just
United.
And
want to
there's
say, oh, how the mighty have fallen. And
Exactly.
25 games played. United have 29 points. It's like incredible to see the fall off. And it's one thing to look at you know, you say,
Rohit,
oh, okay,
can I correct you on that, right? When you say the fall off, right? The fall off is probably from a few seasons ago, right? But last
no,
season, statistically, they should have only been 14th. It is just that in clutch moments, people like Fernandez, people like Dallo, people like Garnacho, by scoring blinders, got them over the line.
that's
So
true.
statistically, they were only 14th.
That's true. That's true. I agree with that. They were not on track to be in the top half last season. I think the performances are regressing to the mean right now. So definitely,
Correct.
it's a good call out. In terms of, I was meaning in terms of absolute position, they finished eighth, which was kind of their worst finish in like decades. I think at least definitely the worst finish in the Premier League era,
Correct.
and I doubt they're going to finish top half this season. So yeah, it's troubling times for United.
Brighton are no marks either, right? To think of
Yeah,
it. So it's not like Brighton's going to drop off, just fall off a cliff, and they'll just kind of meander to the end, right?
the Premier League is just a really, really solid league. There are lots of teams that can beat any other team on their day, except maybe Leicester and Southampton. I think every other team has it in them on their day to just pull off a result against the top teams. And we've seen this multiple times, right?
Correct.
Random, like you look at Nottingham Forest, they're third. They've done an incredible job. Bournemouth are in the reckoning for like a top five finish. It's just great to watch, and it's good for the league to see this kind of consistent performance and raising the level of all the teams in the league. It just makes for more exciting title races, and I hope it continues over the next few seasons. It's never fun when one team just gonna runs away with it, right?
Not just one team, Rohit. I think that the top six
Yeah,
moniker that is now stuck was never there when I started. Right when I started watching the game, it was the four
yeah,
teams, which is Arsenal, Manchester United, Liverpool, Newcastle, and Chelsea were a cup team primarily,
yeah.
right? And then it's changed. And but if you see the way in which the leagues progressed too far, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but the leagues actually moved from 2007-8, which is when we had Ashley, and when this guy came in for Spurs, right? The amount of revenue generation that they have gotten onto, which are
Yeah,
almost twice as much as we are in terms of
right.
revenue generated, commercial revenue. Whereas we have just still, after so long, after like 3 years of the Saudi ownership coming in. We still only managed to claw out, claw back 60% of it. We still have another 50% to catch Spurs, right? Which is who's
Yeah,
the bottom most of that rung of six.
right.
So I think that's where I think success breeds success, in that sense that if all of these teams continue to kind of invest, do the things that they're doing right, it'll not be a table of, it'll not be the six clubs. It'll just be a league,
Yeah, which
right?
is
Of big
which is
clubs.
brilliant.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
I think it's all arbitrary anyway, right? Like the big six or all that. It's just people give them names and the media gives them names, but it's all very, uh, very arbitrary and things change season to season. So, like one of the things I think I watched the Brighton against Chelsea game and back-to-back wins for Brighton. They knocked them out of the FA Cup and then they won against them. Mitoma, did you guys see that goal
Oh yeah,
What
no,
a
that he
that
scored?
touch! What a
Oh,
touch! Beautiful.
incredible.
Carragher did really well not to swear. He was just flabbergasted by that touch. It's not
Oh,
just a touch,
I think
right? But
that's
to have the awareness, just a soft landing of the ball, and then it
yeah,
just cushions it. And then the immediate switch onto his right to
yeah.
get past this guy's left, right?
Shalom.
I think
Shalova.
that goal was worth Brighton passing up the 90 million bid from Al Hilal or whatever. I mean, I'm glad we got to see it. It's like, some of these moments of brilliance, you remember them for years. What a goal.
100%.
Even the
And
finish was really good.
yeah,
Just tucked it into the side.
Yeah.
That's all.
yeah.
No
Yeah,
chance
and
for the
Chelsea are
keeper.
kind of all over the place right now. Like their defense is coming back to bite them. I mean, we've mentioned it a bunch of times. Like Chelsea's attack is pretty good, but their defense really needs upgrading. The keeper isn't world class or nowhere near world class. They have a bunch of injuries to their backline, but no one, solid. Like Thiago was around. They had like a leader in the pack.
And it's not like they were holding up Brighton up the other end of the pitch, right?
No, they aren't. And their attack isn't firing either.
Yeah, and I think we did talk about this earlier in one of the episodes, right? I think in terms of Chelsea and Maresca's failure, or not Chelsea, but Maresca's failure at Leicester last season, where he
Mhm.
raced up to a 20, or I'm going to say almost a 20-point lead by January, and
Yeah,
then it started tapering because he didn't have a plan B or plan C.
right.
So he doesn't play with the resources that he has.
Yeah,
Right? He almost kind of sets up the same strategy for different players, so it doesn't work. Right, in terms of how they build up, how they kind of set up. It's easier to read for the opponents. And what it also does is for he doesn't have the right people playing the right positions in that play. Right, so
yeah.
that's why they're getting found out. And long may it happen. So we have another position that we can, fight off the top four or top five.
Yeah, I think this is kind of going to be like a pivotal period in the title race, at least this next week. Like I said, some exciting games coming up. Villa against Liverpool, I think I'm going to be watching that for sure. Uh, here's what I think, right? Liverpool are going to drop points, but Arsenal's attack is not good enough to capitalize on those. It's just we have, Martinelli coming back maybe in like mid-March. Saka, there were rumors that he'll be back in early March, but with a surgery like that, he will not be at his best until April. And I think by the time the ship for the title would have sailed. Now, at the end of March, if the title race is, if like Arsenal and Liverpool have like a 3 or 4 point gap between them, all bets are off because if Saka is back, anything can happen. You have that X factor in attack. It's still advantage Liverpool, but it'll still make an exciting finish to the season. Uh,
So good to not have Pep in a title race.
yeah, it's very refreshing.
It's been a long time, right? Because you're talking of two human-like teams dropping points, and the possibilities open up.
Yeah,
Unlike this guy, when he's in that race, there's almost a degree of inevitability to it. All right, I
yeah.
know
But
Liverpool.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. I
15
think
games,
it's
45
also
points. That's all.
it's the aura.
Straight up.
They get
Pep
aura
wins the
points,
league.
and I think if teams go play their best against City and Liverpool against Arsenal, everyone is vulnerable to dropping points. I think the good thing about City this season is that teams have realized that hey, they don't have that aura anymore. Just go at them. they're going to give up a goal.
We tried that. They absolutely pumped us the wrong way.
Yeah,
No,
I
but to
mean,
be
it's
honest,
not that
yeah,
it's not that they're a bad team. They just can be got at, and it's not going to work out every time, right?
correct.
Yeah, but
But I
yeah,
think you're
overall,
absolutely valid, Rohit. I think this title race, if Liverpool has the off game against Villa, touchwood, I don't think they will, but even if they do, and then they go against City in the weekend, what
yeah,
it
and it's
does,
after Arsenal play West Ham, so I think psychologically the pressure will tell if they drop points against Villa and Arsenal win against West Ham. Then suddenly you're like 4 or 5 points off of Arsenal, and you have to win that game against City.
correct. So I think it'll be closer than what people make it out to be, right?
Yeah,
It is not that the 12-point lead that we had in the 90s, where we still again lost that lead, right? But
yeah,
yeah, just
yeah. It just makes things exciting. So yeah, looking forward to the next week. Hopefully, we'll catch everyone back here.
one shout out before we drop off.
Yeah,
David Moyes, what an outstanding first few weeks.
talk about a new manager bounce.
Not just bounce, it's that the teams like it's not like
It's
you're. How can a team transform with a new manager? I want to say the artworks of that is what Moyes is showing. It's almost completely changed from what it was again under Daesh to this. It's still the same mechanics of it,
yeah,
but it seems very different in terms of how confident the players are.
yeah, and
It's
it's quite
mental.
ironic that it's Moyes again at Everton who's kind of received that, because you could argue that when he moved to United, that was when their death spiral kind of began. So life
Yes.
comes a full circle sometimes.
Arvind, you were saying sorry before I cut.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot to do with the mentality also. Like when once you get that small boost, it just propels you to do a lot of good things for a continuous like period of time. So yeah, I think the same thing has happened to Everton, and especially getting that last minute equalizer, or shall I say a winner against Liverpool, as it's always their cup final. It does wonders to your confidence, especially when you're going up against a team like Crystal Palace. And they did the same thing against Palace. They got a late goal and secured those 3 points. So yeah, the morale at Goodison Park is at a high, and let's see what happens from now till
Yeah,
the end of
that
the
that
season.
last minute equalizer against Liverpool, right? They really
I was
wanted it.
fuming.
You could see it.
I
You could
was
see the
fuming. I
limbs.
was fuming.
Love it.
Yeah,
4 o'clock
magic of the
Proper
game.
goal in
limbs.
the night, and
Proper
I
limbs.
was fuming.
Yeah, I think it just makes for a better viewing experience when these kinds of
100%.
things happen. It's like
100%.
like a throwback to the early days of the Premier League, where you could see these results. Like the
Anything can
best teams
happen,
Yeah.
have an off
right?
day.
Yeah. So it's just so good. It's just so refreshing to see that equalizer. Maybe not for you, Aravind, but for the rest of us.
Absolutely not for me. For neutrals, yes, but not for Liverpool fans. 100%.
Yeah, but it had to happen, right? Like there's like some poetry to something like that. The last derby at Goodison,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
like it wouldn't have been fun if they had gone down just like without a fight
Mhm.
to their local rivals. So yeah,
That's right.
No,
overall,
they never go down without a fight against Liverpool. I'll say that they may, what do you say, just throw away the game against other teams. But whenever we go to Goodison and it's a title race, they always have some way or the other to stop us. We saw it last season, and hopefully we don't see it this season. I hope this is a point well earned. I hope it's not 2 points dropped. But yeah, they are always a thorn up our backside. So yeah,
what's
no excuses.
what's the next Newcastle game?
Thankfully, it is not a derby. We'll never have a derby with Sunderland forever. So I don't know what Aravin's talking about because I remember the last derby that
Don't
we
jinx it.
had.
You never know. They could come up via the playoffs.
Yeah, I watched Adam Johnson score and celebrate in front of us. So that is the last time that they scored at St. James's. But the next game that we have is against Nottingham Forest at home.
Oh,
So
it's going to be a
it,
really
it,
good
Good
game.
game.
it's it's an interesting game. Wood scored a hat trick last season in the
Right.
same fixture, right, where he almost played like the OG Ronaldo, right? He kind of swiveled Botman both ways before he scored. So
Did it against every team except when it mattered against City last season. Somehow.
good stuff. But yeah, I think
Him
it's going
and
to be a
Son.
good game. Yeah.
But anyway, like
All
exciting
right.
weekend of games coming up. We're gonna have a lot to discuss the next time we meet. Thanks for joining me, guys. This is great.
No
All right.
problem.
Video. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.